Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to reveal my top 10 of 2012. What I consider to be the best films that were released in 2012. It's been a pretty good film year, to be honest, in 2012. Every month there's been a good movie. There hasn't been a long period of time where it's just a bunch of stinkers, fortunately. Making a best film of the year list, I think if I had done more slots in there, there would probably be a million ties and things like Skyfall and The Avengers and Haywire and Magic Mike and Seven Psychopaths, and it would have just gone on, or like The Raid and Dread and da-da-da. There are a lot of really cool genre films. There are a lot of good films in general. Instead of doing the normal top 10, I actually just did 13. I saw a lot of people are doing top 15s this year and top 20s. I just can't. That would have taken me so long. Just give me a break. Throughout the year, I do write down, like, when I see a film and I'm like, that was one of the best films of the year, I write it down and I keep a list. And these are basically all the films that were on this list that I was doing throughout the year. There are 13 of them. There's really no reason there are 13. Those are just the 13. These are just the films I was like, these are the best. Alright, so to kick things off, number 13 is Teddy Bear. I was really kind of taken aback by this film. It reminds me a lot of the film Marty, just because it's so sensitive and it follows this guy who, is older, is living with his mom, can't really find the right girl for him. Kim Cold, who plays Dennis, he's massive. He's so physically different from everyone in the film. It just makes it look like he doesn't belong. And when he feels uncomfortable and feels like he shouldn't be around all these people, it makes so much more sense because of the way he is physically. It makes for a lot of interesting shots visually. Number 12 is The Secret World of Arrietty. It's actually the youngest director ever to direct a Studio Ghibli film, Hiromasa Yonibayashi. And it's his first film he's ever directed. It's really kind of traditional in the way it's told. This film is very much a kid's film, but it's a very well-told, patient, and traditional kids film, almost contemplative. Okay, number 11. And number 11 and 10, I don't really like tying things, because then it's just like, it's like annoying. So I really could have tied 11 and 10, and if you want to consider them tied, just for you, that's fine with me, because in my mind they're pretty much tied. But just to keep it ranking all nice, number 11 is Life of Pi. A lot of this film is really about belief and how you view the world and what's the better way to view the world. Like, it's either cynical or spiritual is the argument within this film. That's an argument that the film plays off very well, and it definitely speaks to kind of the spiritual side. I think vaguely spiritual side. Number 10 is The Cabin in the Woods. Meta kind of twist on the typical like horror movie. It's very Joss Whedon. Drew Goddard, he directed a couple Buffy episodes, he directed an Angel episode. Horror gets a little boring within its genre, and it's hard to kind of stretch out. He's definitely doing something with the genre in the beginning, but then it like keeps deconstructing itself and deconstructing itself. This is a movie that it's so funny and referential and like kind of sarcastic, but at the same time very deep. For the horror genre, I think it's really like probably one of the more interesting horror movies I've seen in a long time. Number 9, Bad Fever. While watching Bad Fever, you might think that it's kind of a regular micro-budget mumblecore kind of movie. It actually owes a lot more to 70s personal filmmaking, kind of like John Cassavetes' more small character study films. This loner Eddie, who's this aspiring comedian who's not really very funny, but his dream gives him a lot of comfort. His dream of one day being a stand-up comedian, even though he lives this very internal, sad, lonely life until he meets Irene. And I think he really wants to prove himself to Irene, but within his shyness and how quiet he is, there's kind of a weird charisma about him. It's almost like anti-charisma. And this film has such a 70s nature throughout it. You couldn't tell Eddie's story any other way. It has to be like this kind of low-budget, small story. So it's very appropriate to how you're portraying Eddie's story, because I don't think it would work as well narratively and thematically. Number 8, Holy Motors. It's strange, but it's strange in a way that I find, as a film lover, as exciting and shows an imagination that I really haven't seen in a long time. It's one of those films that's unclassifiable almost. It's so imaginative and fun that even at the beginning where I was like, where's this going? It very quickly got me to go, I don't know what this movie's going to do. I really don't know what's going to happen next, and that was incredibly exciting to see. It reminds me of Buñuel, and when I saw Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, Holy Motors isn't just a film you can just analyze. It's a really fun movie. It's really funny. It's surprising. I mean, there's a part literally in the middle of the movie, he does a big musical number with a bunch of people on accordions. The main actor, Dennis Levant, who plays Oscar, he plays 9, 10 different characters. It's really an acting tour de force. But he can play an old lady, he can play a crazed, homeless weirdo that's kind of Chaplin-esque a little bit, and then right before he's in a motion capture suit, dry humping this lady. He does all these amazing, different, crazed things all in one film. If you did think filmmaking was dead and thought everything was just made from a comic book and a toy line, then you see Holy Motors, you'd be like, holy shit, they make this stuff still? They make movies that are this challenging and different? Like, there's no structure to it. Sure, it points out the middle. I think it points out the middle. Was that the middle? I don't even know, because it was just so out there. It's like the fun movie that an art movie snob goes to and has a good time. Number 7, Beasts of the Southern Wild. This film kind of has a very lyrical quality to it. It's very well directed for a first feature by Ben Zatilin. It's very Terrence Malick-like. It reminds me a lot of Days of Heaven, especially the girl, Hush Puppy, has narration throughout, and it kind of is from a kid's perspective. This is playing in the real world, but from a kid's perspective. They don't tell you what hurricane it is. You assume because it's New Orleans, I guess, and because of where they go later in the film, that it could possibly be Katrina, but they never say that. It's kind of like an imaginative, cool little world that like nobody goes to. It reminds me of Pogo and the Okefenokee Swamp. In a little ways, the refined storytelling of it reminds me of Hayao Miyazaki, and I like the combination of Hayao Miyazaki and Terrence Malick. It's kind of like a fable. It's kind of like a kid's story, you know, that they live in this place called the Bathtub that's on the other side of the levee. That division of wealth, it kind of wraps you up in this crazy little world of Louisiana. Number 6, Post Mortem. It takes place in 1973 in Chile. A coroner's assistant who transcribes for the coroner on a typewriter or sometimes writes it down. And he falls in love with this burlesque dancer who lives across the street from him around the time that there's a political coup in Chile in 1973 that overthrew President Salvador Allende. It reminds me of like Kafka. It's like kind of a weird Kafka-esque dream. The way the camera and the sound design work, it really shows the perspective very well. And I think when you get to the camera work, a lot of people think to have great cinematography, you have to have a shot that's very pretty and beautiful. And I disagree, because I think it's how you are using the camera, and how this film used the camera is very smart. There are certain shots where the camera doesn't move at all, but they're saying more with that shot. Just like there's a shot at the beginning where he's waiting by the window for this dancer to come home, and as soon as she comes home, he like runs out and goes to his garden, but the camera's stuck inside. And it's like an interesting little moment, and it was really good at like capturing these cool little moments. Number 5, Looper. Rian Johnson has really combined a lot of different influences to make a very postmodern kind of science fiction movie. This is the first movie in a while to bring the noir back to tech noir. It has a lot of Western influence. Rian Johnson, the director of this film, is really someone who loves movies. You can tell the way the guys who are going after both Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis are dressed in these kind of cowboy black outfits. In Westerns, you know, the bad guys wore black. The guys who are looking for you were wearing black. That's how you knew they were bad, because they're wearing dark colors. I can't think of such a postmodern science fiction movie that's come out in probably a decade. It combines so many influences to make something really truly original, and use those influences in a really smart way, and like flesh them out and let them be themselves, but also using them to his advantage. This kind of reminds me of how postmodern and sci-fi really had a nice marriage together when you look at films like Terminator and Back to the Future and Star Wars and Alien. This is fully in that tradition. And now 4, Moonrise Kingdom. It's both kind of hip and young and funny and well plotted out. I mean, I can also tell while watching this that I think animation served Wes Anderson very well, because he seems a lot more plotted out in this film. He seems a lot more comfortable in his own style. Even the cinematography looked like a film from 1965, just like perfectly restored, just the way they did the zooms and the colors. I like the way the camera moves, and it feels like in the beginning we have a small camera rig in a dollhouse or something. It moves so perfectly. I think everyone had that kind of fantasy, like me and this girl gonna just run away from everything, like live in the woods. This is one of those Wes Anderson movies that people will look back at through his filmography. I think it's a really, really kind of, it's almost, to me, it's like a special movie. Number 3, Zero Dark 30 is kind of a thinking man's political film. As time is going on, and as this film, it feels almost episodic in a way, because you're going through these 10 years and going through all these, how there's red herrings and they think they're on the right path and then they're not, and it's incredibly frustrating for them. And the cast of characters change, the people in the investigations change, and the only person who's really there the entire time, Maya, who's like a through line through the plot and the investigation. As much as it is a hunt for Osama bin Laden, I also think it's a little bit of a character study, but a character study on someone who has absolutely no life other than trying to find Osama bin Laden. It's just about the investigation, but you do learn a lot about her as a character. It's interesting, a film that is as kind of reserved can wrap you up in the same way a film that really needs to plead to you and ask you to come with it and get on your side and kind of spell everything out to you can. This film does it in the same way, which is, I think, kind of an amazing feat. And it shows Kathryn Bigelow as a filmmaker, and this might be one of her strongest films I think I've ever seen from her. Number 2, Amour. Love, I think in most literature, and especially film, love is shown through a very young perspective. It's fun seeing love that way, but I think what makes this film so different is it's showing the part of love that is at the end of the marriage. It reminds me of Bergman in a way, how slow and quiet it is. It shows what it means to love someone even when all these terrible things are happening to them and their bodies are failing them and their minds are deteriorating. Quiet and stoic, but in the end, I'm incredibly emotionally overwhelmed. This is an amazing film, and if you can and are mature enough to get through it and to go to it, then I highly recommend it. To put yourself out there emotionally and let yourself see a part of love that isn't the part that you're really confronted with enough, and I think Amour makes you confront it. And my number 1 pick for the best film of 2012 is The Master. Joaquin Phoenix represents something that Philip Seymour Hoffman is not. And in a way, they are the classic romantic idea that opposites attract. As much as Joaquin Phoenix is chaos, he's crazy, he's manic. You know, there's certain scenes where I see him walk across the room. Is he gonna flip a chair over? Is he gonna beat the shit out of that person? He's a wild card. You don't exactly know what to expect from Joaquin Phoenix's character. More of a man as an animal. Philip Seymour Hoffman represents everything that really is against, because the whole thing with The Cause in his book is about control. And I think a lot of religion is giving some people part of control, giving people kind of a system to believe in. Most people really like control and like a sense of order. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is bringing his own sense of order, and he really represents that sense of order. But because he has started this sense of order, everyone around him is very orderly and controlled. And that relationship, which is really at the core of The Master between these two men, is interesting because I feel like they start bleeding into one another, but I think Joaquin Phoenix bleeds more into Philip Seymour Hoffman. The feverish movement of it and the dreamlike quality to the film, there's just certain things are emphasized, certain things are not emphasized, and in like such a controlled way. It's a glamorous masterpiece of a movie, but it's a cerebral, confusing one, and it's the kind of divisive film that we're not really used to nowadays. Okay, so that was my top 10, or really my top 13. Again, I think it's been a really great film year. It's been a good year, I think, for this channel as well, and I'm going to keep putting out videos, but I want to thank everybody who's shown me support and watches my videos and leaves me a comment or messages me about how much you like them. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching this past year, and I hopefully won't disappoint you in 2013. I plan on doing a lot more videos, so please keep watching, and thank you very much as always. So if you have seen any of the top films that I picked for 2012, then leave a comment below and tell me what you thought about them. And also maybe tell me what some of your favorite films of 2012 were, or put your own top 10 list below in the comments. I'd be curious to see. And subscribe if you would like to. That's it.